They say the camera sees things the human eye simply wasn't designed to perceive, and a new viral filter is putting that theory to the ultimate terrifying test. It started as a trend called the ethereal scan, a simple augmented reality tool designed to map the heat signatures of a room. At first, it just highlights furniture and walls in a soft digital glow that looks like a standard night vision effect. But then, users started reporting something else: jagged, humanoid outlines appearing in empty corners. These aren't just random pixels or lighting glitches. They have distinct shapes, limbs, and a haunting presence. Curiosity quickly turned to dread as people realized the shapes weren't just sitting there. They were reacting to the presence of the phone, and they seemed to be waiting for someone to notice them. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the digital mysteries that keep us up at night. Today, we are analyzing the most disturbing footage captured using the ethereal scan filter, and exploring why so many users are deleting the app after just one use. We will walk through the progression of these sightings and the strange physics behind how these outlines behave. Is it a clever marketing stunt for a new movie? Or has someone accidentally coded a window into another dimension? Make sure you stay tuned until the very end, because the final clip we found defies all logical explanation. Let's look closer at what's hiding in the shadows of your own home. The phenomenon usually begins innocently enough, with a user sitting alone in their bedroom or living room, testing out the latest filter to see what the hype is about. You see the usual outlines of your bed, your desk, and your own reflection, all rendered in that sharp, digital neon aesthetic. For the first few seconds, everything seems normal, just another piece of software playing with light and shadow. You move the camera around, marveling at how the AR technology maps the floor and ceiling with such precision. But the atmosphere changes the moment you pan the camera toward a door that should be closed, or a corner shrouded in darkness. That is when the filter detects a presence that shouldn't be there, a cold spot that the software interprets as a solid form. In this specific clip, the user noticed a small, flickering outline near the ceiling, vibrating with a high-frequency digital pulse. It didn't look like a person at first, just a strange geometric shape that seemed to be hovering in place. The user laughs nervously, assuming it's just the phone struggling to map the texture of the wallpaper in low light. They wave their hand through the space where the outline appears, and on the screen, their hand passes right through the glowing figure. There is no resistance, no physical presence, just the cold blue lines on the glass of the smartphone. But notice how the outline doesn't disappear when the hand passes through. It simply shifts, as if it's stepping back to avoid contact. As the minutes tick by, the glitch begins to stabilize, taking on a much more recognizable human form, with broad shoulders and a tilted head. The filter's algorithm seems to be working harder to define the entity, adding more detail to the glowing lines every second the camera stays focused on it. You can see the ribs, the joints of the fingers, and the hollow sockets where eyes should be, all pulsing in a rhythmic white light. The user stops laughing as they realize the figure is now standing perfectly still, facing them from across the room. It's no longer a random shape. It's a watcher, anchored to a specific coordinate in the room that the phone refuses to ignore. The air in the video seems to grow heavy as the silence stretches on. What's most unsettling is the way the figure remains fixed in 3D space, regardless of how much the user shakes the phone or moves around. If this were a simple image overlay, the figure would move with the camera, but this entity is anchored to the floor of the room. The user walks to the left, and the phone screen shows the figure from a different angle, maintaining its position near the bookshelf. They walk to the right, and the perspective shifts perfectly, revealing the back of the glowing entity. This level of spatial tracking suggests the phone is identifying a volumetric mass in the room that is invisible to the naked eye. The technology is insisting that something physical is occupying that space, even if the light isn't bouncing off it for us to see. 10 minutes into the recording, the first sign of movement occurs, and it's not a glitch. It's a choice. The figure, which had been standing perfectly still, slowly tilts its head to the side, mirroring the curious movement of the user. It's a subtle, fluid motion that feels far too organic for a programmed animation or a software error. The user gasps, and you can hear their breathing become shallow and fast as the reality of the situation sets in. They try to turn the filter off, but the app seems to hang, the screen frozen on the image of the entity staring back. It feels as if the software has been hijacked by the very thing it was meant to detect. The figure's glowing lines begin to brighten, turning from a soft blue to a harsh, blinding white. Then, the distance begins to close, and the figure takes its first step toward the camera. On the screen, the glowing feet lift and plant firmly on the digital floor, each step accompanied by a faint static pop in the audio. The user backs away, retreating toward the far wall, but the entity maintains its pace, slowly gliding across the carpet. It doesn't walk like a human. Its movements are twitchy, frame-skipped, and unnatural, as if it's struggling to exist in our reality. Every time the camera lens flares, the figure seems to jump forward a few inches, bypassing the space in between. It is hunting the observer through the screen, using the camera as a beacon to guide its way toward the user. In a moment of pure panic, the user finally manages to kill the app and shove the phone into their pocket, plunging the room into darkness. For a few seconds, the video is just black, with the muffled sound of the user's frantic heartbeat and soft whimpering. They think it's over. They think, by closing the window, they've locked the door to whatever was outside. But the curiosity, or perhaps the fear of not knowing, is too strong to ignore for long. They pull the phone back out, their hands shaking so violently they can barely hold the device steady. They have to know if it's still there, if the room is finally empty, or if the nightmare has only just begun. They tap the icon once more. When the filter reloads, the figure isn't in the corner anymore. It's standing in the middle of the hallway, directly in the user's path. It is significantly larger now, its glowing outlines stretching from the floor to the ceiling, dominating the entire field of view. The jagged lines are vibrating so fast they create a blur on the screen, and the static in the audio has grown into a low, rhythmic humming. The user tries to run toward the front door, but the figure shifts instantly, appearing right in front of the exit. It's as if the entity is tethered to the phone itself, moving with the user's gaze rather than the physical room. There is nowhere left to hide when the monster lives inside the lens you're looking through. Suddenly, a sound breaks the digital silence, a heavy, physical thud on the floorboards that doesn't come from the phone's speakers. The user freezes as they realize the entity is no longer just a collection of pixels on a screen. They can feel a sudden drop in temperature, a chilling wind that smells like ozone and old dust. Even though the hallway looks empty to their eyes, the phone screen shows the figure reaching out a long, glowing arm toward them. The sensors on the phone are going haywire, the ethereal scan overlay turning red as it warns of a massive energy surge. The boundary between the digital world and the physical one is collapsing, and the user is caught right in the middle of the breach. The glowing hand of the figure finally touches the edge of the phone screen, and a spider web of cracks instantly forms across the glass. The user screams as the phone is nearly knocked from their hands by an invisible force, the device sparking with static electricity. On the display, the entity's face is now pressed against the inside of the screen, its hollow eyes staring directly into the user's soul. The jagged lines are so bright now, they illuminate the user's real hands, casting long, distorted shadows against the walls of the hallway. It's no longer detecting an invisible figure. It's pulling that figure into our world, one pixel at a time. The final defense, the glass of the screen, is about to shatter for good. The video ends with a deafening screech of digital feedback as the screen goes completely white, leaving only the faint silhouette of the figure visible in the center. Then, total silence and darkness. When the authorities found the phone the next morning, the battery was completely drained and the hardware was fried from the inside out. There was no sign of the user, only a single blurry photo saved to the cloud, a photo of an empty room with a jagged, glowing outline standing over a pile of clothes. We may never know what happened to them, but one thing is certain. Some things are meant to stay unseen. If you see this filter on your feed today, do yourself a favor and keep scrolling. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. If this story gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button and share it with someone who spends too much time on their phone. We cover the darkest corners of the internet every week, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a descent into the unknown. What do you think? Was it a ghost, a glitch, or something far worse? Let us know your theories in the comments below, and tell us if you've ever seen something strange through your camera lens. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and most importantly, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. We'll see you in the next one, if you're still watching.